Hi, this is Majin, and here's some reviews for you. We got Superman Unchained #2, Uncanny X-Men #8, Quantum and Woody, and Justice League #22. A couple of these I'm going to go really quick just so I can get to the meat of everything. Let's start off with just Superman Unchained #2. All I got to say is the art really sells this book. You throw any other artist on here, and this book probably would sell half. Okay, the only thing I really got to say about this X-Men title here is this boy needs to grow some balls really quick because he's got a crappy ass power and he needs to step up his game. He goes home. I'm like, please, you go home. Okay, Quantum and Woody #1. Now, this is based off of an old Valiant, the worst superhero team. And this is a tale of two brothers, and they basically get wrapped up into some craziness. Their father gets killed, they get blamed for his murder, and they gain superpowers along the way. You know, this is going to be one of those comedy type books. If you're looking for something that's going to be kind of, look at it as a Firestorm. Before Firestorm had two protagonists that hated each other, and that's kind of what Quantum and Woody is like. But instead of being one person, they're two people. So I guess it's really not like Firestorm, other than it's the two people. Anyways, let's get on with the what you're really wanting to hear. Justice League #22. This was the biggest piece of horse crap I've ever... No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't really that bad. But this is what I'm going to say. The art is fantastic. Ian Reese does a great job in penciling this book. The panel layout's fantastic. The way he tells a story is really good. And without Jeff Johns and Ian Reis, they're in trouble. DC is in some serious trouble because I don't know who else is going to carry these big storylines, because there's nobody left that's really good. Now, well, the Trinity, I do have some issues with the Trinity War. One is it's DC's presentation of what's going on. One, they're going, well, it's Pandora, it's this and that. Then it's the war between the three Justice Leagues, and then it's, well, it's the Society of Evil Supervillains. And you know, to me, what it's doing is it's sending out all this mixed messages, and as to what to expect from it. And on one hand, it's not too bad that that they're doing it. I just wish that if their message, even though it's three different types of storylines that are thrown into this thing, that it was a more unified message rather than, okay, it's this. And then, you go through a couple weeks later and there's another article that tells you, oh, it's about this. And then when you read an issue of Justice League of America, oh, wait a second, it's about that. So that's what I mean by that. The second thing is, I really do think they dropped the ball with certain things that lead up to this. And I guess they did a decent job with Shazam, in that they forced you to read Shazam if you bought the Justice League. But if you wanted to get the other parts of the story with Pandora and the Phantom Stranger, those were miniseries. And, again, it's, unless you wallpaper Trinity War like way up on top, and then you have posters, and then you have inserts in here that say Trinity War, must buy these other issues. Comic readers, while there is a number of them who are very internet savvy and they know everything, but the rest of them don't. You have to realize the bulk of comic readers go to their comic store once a week, maybe twice a month, right? And they don't know what to buy other than what's in their subscription box service, if they even have a subscription service. Because believe it or not, there are comic stores that don't even offer something like that. So you really have to talk down to readers at times. And Marvel does a great job, I think, of doing the crossovers and how they tie the stories in together. And DC's had a couple years here. What they really should have been doing is they should have been building up the Pandora side of the story. They should have been building up the Phantom Stranger story in the main. You had Justice League of America, and Justice League Dark. You should have been building that in those issues, so you didn't need the miniseries. Kind of like what they did with Shazam. But the problem with Shazam is you read 15 pages of it, and you go, I don't want Shazam, and you throw the book on your pile. So it's like, I guess you can always say you can't lead a horse to water, make him drink, but at the same time, you got to. I think you really have to incorporate the story more to build it. Now, of course, the other thing that I didn't like is this is an exact copy of AVX. Exact. Think about it. AVX, Avengers versus X-Men. What is this? Justice League versus Justice League versus Justice League. Right? Then on top of that, you have a hero who goes a little loopy and kills somebody. What happens in this? Now, this is a spoiler, but I don't think it's a spoiler because if you read Kotaku this morning, it's plastered right on their website. You have a superhero going a little loopy, and he kills another superhero. And I'm like, oh, really? Where did I read that a year ago? And on top of that, the person who dies, while it does spark the war, it's so insignificant that I'm like, really? They killed Dr. Light. They just brought Dr. Light in. And they just started to make him potentially interesting. Because there's this part here where he starts talking and he's like, well, I go enter rooms and all the light goes away. They want me to do things they don't feel comfortable doing. That's great. I mean, that is really great build up to a character. And you can tell that something happens where he's manipulated. And same thing with Superman. He's manipulated. And he inadvertently attacks Wonder Woman. And Superman goes crazy, uses his eye beams, heat vision, and blows his face off. And I'm like, while that is a very stunning image to view, I'm like going, really? Why are you killing a character who just appeared? Now, don't get me wrong, I really do think there's a plan. And that plan is probably they're going to turn him into a villain at some point in time. I mean, think about it, he's light. There's no way he's going to stay dead. Not from that. So my guess is he's going to come back, and he'll probably come back twisted and evil. But anyways, that's besides that point. And then, so okay, that's what I had for the bad. For the good part, though, I really did enjoy. Oh, I got one more bad part. This Pandora part. Pandora appears between in front of Superman and Wonder Woman, and she's like, "I need you to open this," and she just hands Superman the thing, and I'm like, "No! You need a little bit more build up here. You need just a little bit more." And obviously, this thing is the catalyst to cause Superman to kind of go a little bit loopy, and then from here, the supervillains do something and jack him up. And I'm like, oh. I mean, they actually did have some decent foreshadowing, too, though, between a conversation with Superman and Wonder Woman, and how, Wonder Woman's like, the reason why I don't have returning villains is because I kill them. And, so I thought that was actually kind of a good, you knew something was going to happen between those characters. Okay, so that goes with that. I don't know, the whole trigger to this whole thing, to me, it just seems like to me, in a way, it felt like they didn't have a compelling story to tell to get you hooked at the beginning. Now, I'm not saying that a war between these three wouldn't sell, because it would, but they didn't have anything to get you to initially buy in on it, other than promising a superhero killing another superhero, and craziness and just ensues. I mean. Now, also, there is another supposed character death that's not really, it's not going to be a death, which also happens, which is going to drag in the Justice League Dark. But I mean, overall, I mean, even though I'm really harping on it now, I have to admit, I mean, it it was a, if you look at it by a paint by numbers issue, it told what it needed to tell to get the reader involved right from the beginning. It did everything it needed to do to say, here's who these people are, here are those people, and it gives them a cause to fight. So that it does a great job, and it has a great ending in the sense of, you know, that what these characters are going to go through, not from now until the end of the series, it's going to be painful. So in that sense, Johns does a really good job. It just, unfortunately for me also, I don't want to hear Jeff's voice any longer. You know, that the one thing I liked about Marvel in that you had Bendis running the ship for how many years? You know, it's the same voice, but now they're letting Hickman run it, and it's a different way of telling a story, and I appreciate that. And with John's, all I'm hearing in as I'm reading this in my head is, "This is Green Lantern." You know, it's the same voice, and I'm like, for that, I'm like, I just wish it was somebody else doing it. But you know, again, who's DC going to throw on a book that's this big, that's supposed to generate how many sales, and they don't have anybody. They don't have a go-to person, and that's really unfortunate. But that being said, I still enjoyed it. Anyways, if you have any comments or questions, let me know. Oh, I can get you a code. Like the Facebook link, and then they do the reviews on Crunchyroll, and those are free reviews. And if you have any other comments or questions, let me know. Let me know what you thought of Trinity War. I have a feeling most of you guys are going to like it, but I'd really like to hear what you guys think, and we'll have more reviews and stuff like that later. So until next time.